Hi, gang. I'm Ross the Boss, and you're watching MFSN, the Hub's Draft Prep Show. We're going to analyze the best centers in this season's draft. Top 5 options and sleepers, best values, busts, you name it, we talk about it. If you have not yet subscribed but you want to become a better fantasy basketball manager, click it now. And you hit the bell for that notifications. If you have any questions at all, I'll write you back. Comment below. I love talking fantasy basketball with you, cowboy.
We're going to move to center, but Lauren, she totally ditched us. I cannot believe it. She does this all the time. She shows up and then she decides that her camera is going to go out and she's going to hide it in James Harden's beard and then meet up with Alonzo Bowden later. She does this every single time. So I'm going to give my list of centers. Karl Anthony Towns is only a center in Yahoo, so it's very clear where
That's
he should
why I
be.
had him,
He is the number one center by far. I have Hassan Whiteside next. You may have had him in power forward, but he's way up there.
Whoa.
Now,
You have him. Okay, keep going.
I have him second as center. Now, my third might surprise you. Now, remember, a lot of the guys I had are like power forwards. I don't have Anthony Davis as a center. You could play him as a center, but he was my number one power forward. I have Deandre Ayton as my third center. I think that he is way on the way up. Joelle Embiid is my fourth. He is fantastic per game, but he's going to miss games for sure. Always does. But he's kind of the Kawhi Leonard with even more risk. Rudy Gobert is fifth. Really? Even though he managed to basically stop the NBA with his COVID spreading last year. It probably would have ended up ending anyway, but that was kind of an infamous thing. But as a fantasy player, he blocks tons of shots, gets rebounds, plays tons of minutes. His efficiency is really good. Those are my top 5. I know we have different position eligibility, but if those 5 players sounded good to you, or if there's anybody that you think...
First, let me stop you. Whiteside is not in the top 5 in any power forward or center. I mean, he's a good player, but I had Jokic for the center for Denver. I had him number 2. I don't know if you have him.
I had him 3
forward.
for power forward. So
so Jokic was my 2. Embiid was 3. Rudy Gobert was my 4. Rudy Gobert, his defensive stats, if you look at him with blocks and all that stuff, they're one of the best in the league. So he's somebody that I like a lot. And then the last one, you talked about him, about power forwards, is Andre Drummond. I love his stats. If you look at his stats, they're very strong with rebounds. He's one of the best in the league. If rebounds mean anything to you in your league, but I don't think Whiteside's a top 5 player. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's very underrated. I wouldn't put him in my top 5 at center. I mean, I guess it partially depends who you count, of course. But one guy that you guys haven't, or I'll give 2 guys that I would actually take ahead of Whiteside that you guys haven't mentioned yet. One of them is one of my favorite players in fantasy, which is Nikola Vucevic with Orlando. He's so underrated.
I like him too.
He gives you this really even production in every single category. He has no category he hurts you in, which is very rare among big men, because big men tend to have this really they're really strong in certain categories and then nothing in other categories. But he's not like that. He's a very balanced player, so I like him a lot. And then Yusuf Nurkic also is a player I think could have a really big breakthrough this year on that Portland team. I think
I have both of them as sleepers, so I think
I
we're
like
agreeing
picks.
on lots.
I like
lots
that
of
I'm
things.
vibing with Andrew. Maybe I'll be able to compete with him this year.
We'll see.
Sleeper time? Sleeper?
We're going to move to sleepers in a second. I just wanted to remind the audience to click subscribe, ring the bell, hit like. You got to get your notifications so that you know where to get your top fantasy advice, and you're going to see which one of us emerges as who to follow. When it came to football, I had a lot to learn, but you guys made me a fantasy monster. In basketball, I think I'm ahead of the curve here. We're going to see. But let's talk about sleepers. I had Vucevic. I had Nurkic. I only had itch players at the end. I don't know what it was. One deep sleeper is James Wiseman itch. No, his name is just James Wiseman. But he's one of the few rookies who I think can make a difference because he's coming into Golden State. There's a little bit of a hole there. Steve Kerr is a wizard with these players, and he's just got the talent to go far. Golden State's always making great picks.
Yeah, and big men I think can acclimate like in terms of statistically easier than like guards, because rookie guards tend to put up tons of crazy shots and turn the ball over a lot. The big men can kind of have a more limited role and be efficient in what they do right from the beginning.
Totally agree. Ross, how about you with sleepers?
Well, my sleeper pick this year, he's on a new team. He's playing for Oklahoma. He was on the Sixers last year, and he didn't really fit that well there. And he's married to like Miss Puerto Rico. So if you're bored one day and want to see a really pretty basketball wife, she's unbelievable. It's Al Horford. Ella Horford plays for Oklahoma. He's going to be getting all the rebounds there. It's going to be him and Adams will get the rebounds. And he's going to have a great year. He's going to have a breakthrough year again. He'll probably be comeback player of the year. You heard it from me first. He's in a perfect situation in Oklahoma. We'll see what happens, but that's my sleeper pick this year. And you can get him you can probably get him in the last round too.
I'm gonna ask Casey about his in a second, but I have to say I have Al Horford as a bust. This is gonna be interesting.
Idiot! Why?
There's so much because you're paying for basically what the top level he's gonna do. We know what Al Horford's gonna do.
Yeah, but he's not being drafted in the first 10 rounds, and this guy's like a 12th round pick. How can he be
I don't think he's a 12th round pick, but I actually think Al Horford's going to fall off a cliff.
Have you seen his wife?
Literally.
Have you seen what his wife looks like?
Listen, if that were one of the categories, then I would put Al Horford higher. Casey, how about sleeper? I'm not like super convinced that Al Horford is a bust, but I did have him listed.
I had him as a value pick, ironically, but my sleeper was to piggyback on Andrew was Nurkic. I think with Portland, I think I'm obviously pretty high on Portland's fantasy relevance this year because I also had CJ McCollum in the shooting guards as my value pick there too because I don't think he gets enough love for how consistent he is. So my bust was I also had Deandre Ayton as my other sleeper / breakout. I agree with you. I think he's a stud and he's on the way up and he's only going to get better. My bust was I had Blake Griffin as a center and I had him as my bust there. So
lots of things that we're going to be arguing about. So now let's move to some value picks.
Can I just make mine real quick? No?
Oh, did you not make your sleeper pick?
No, I didn't. My sleeper pick is Brook Lopez. Of Milwaukee.
Well, I have him as a value pick. That's interesting. That's semantics again.
I think his ADP is pretty low. But like
see.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just think of a value pick as a known quantity that has been producing at a good level and is being drafted too low. Oh my God, Lauren, you're back.
What's going on?
We're
Andre and I
Brook
had
Lopez.
a
Beard.
so
Alonzo
much.
And you had a really good time.
We had a good time. It was amazing, actually.
Lauren, tell us your top 5 centers. Go, make it quick.
My top 5. Okay, then I'm just going to list them. I'll do Karl Anthony Towns as
okay,
one.
he was number 1. He was number 1 so far. You're one.
There we go. Okay, what about Nikola Jokic?
Yep.
Deandre Ayton.
I had him too.
Yeah.
Okay, then Ayton at 3.
Was my third.
Who?
I had Bam Adebayo.
Oh, I love Bam. We didn't talk about him.
I had him as my 5th power forward, so I like that pick.
Okay, and then Joelle Embiid.
So nice. We didn't discuss Bam. Bam's somebody also who I love. I mean, he's a young center power forward. He's gonna have 15 rebounds a game, 20 points a game,
and I hate
block
to say
shots.
I hate to say it as a Cavs fan because I always, I have something against the Heat for obvious reasons. But the Heat are a truly quality organization. They've always found a way to make these players better. Bam Adebayo is one of those guys that's on the rise. I'm
going to pour a little cold water on him, though, real quick. I do think he turns the ball over too much, and he's, a bit of a liability at the free throw line as well. So I think last year was kind of like a best-case scenario for Bam in terms of what he can do.
All right. Now, listen, this is totally out of order, but I feel like Tobias Harris just didn't get mentioned enough. He's a great player. I don't know where you fit him in.
I had him.
Small forward.
Yeah, I had him as my 4th power forward. I didn't hear him mentioned too much. He's an underrated guy. He's one of these guys that actually similar to Chris Paul, but younger, that people undervalue, and he's going to be high. One more value pick that I wanted to say is a guy like Mitchell Robinson. The guy is going to block tons and tons of shots. The Knicks may not be able to score, but Mitchell Robinson is going to block tons of shots, and you want him on your team. Lauren, give us your sleeper, your bust, and your value pick at center, and then we'll talk about your experience disentangling your camera from James Harden's beard.
That's not suitable, but
Not
for
suitable.
everyone.
Okay, all right. Fair enough, fair enough.
Actually, you're talking about Mitchell Robinson. I actually, as my sleeper, I have Nerlens Noel because I actually think that both of these centers are kind of interesting. Neither of them have really averaged over 20.
I had him too,
low 20 minutes of game. I think they're going to be splitting time. The thing is with Nerlens, what I like is that. He's like a steals machine. When he's in, he's a super efficient scorer, and he's a blocks machine. And I just think that, I don't know, Robinson fouls out a bunch. And so I think Nerlens will just see an increase in time, and I think that you'll get value out of that.
And I had both as value picks, but I really like your argument for Nerlens over Mitchell Robinson. And let me say one more thing. One thing about fantasy basketball, a lot of it is about having the guys to play at a given time. In our league, we have a waiver wire that's only once a week. So you have to get your players in order, and you're going to need a guy like Nerlens Noel to plug in because not everybody's going to be playing on the same day. You need to have a full roster. And
you need to be with Mitchell Robinson. Another thing to worry about is his maturity. He's gone through a million agents. And I worry about Tom Thibodeau has made a lot of comments to the media about him. Just question, maybe he's just trying to light a fire under him. But I just worry he might get in Thibodeau's doghouse and get his minutes cut at various points during the season. I mean, he's like Whiteside. He's a really valuable player when he's on the court, but it's just a question of how much he'll be on the court.
Well, and that leads into my. I was gonna say that leads into my bust. I have Whiteside only because not because I don't think that he's terrible or anything, but you just don't know is Rashawn Holmes gonna be playing? Is Whiteside gonna be playing? You don't know about the minutes, and right now Whiteside's being drafted inside the top 50. And for me, if I'm drafting a guy inside of the top 50, I want to know that he's playing and that he'll
be playing. They're playing him a lot of money. He'll be out there. He'll be out there a lot. Somebody else I didn't bring up at all that I want to bring up just because I think it's going to be a huge year, and is Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat. I feel he's somebody that's going to get a lot of playing time this year. He poured it on during the playoffs, Andrew. You know him right. And he was the reason the Heat, I think, went so far in the playoffs.
Loves his Wildcats.
And he's actually a Kentucky Wildcat, as you mentioned. And he's somebody to me that's going to make a huge year this year. So I just want to make sure I mention him, and a little shout out to Tyler Hero.
All right, so listen, there's lots of differences of opinion. So we love to see the comments. Bring them all. Let's hear what you think about who got it right. Part of the fun of fantasy sports is arguing about the players and then seeing the proof is in the pudding when the games start. So if you have not yet subscribed, hit that button and ring the bell for notifications.